Something quiet is erasing your memory, and if you don't catch it, it may start editing who you are. Stay with me, I'm certain about this. You won't see it breaking on the evening news. It's not an explosion. It's a slow dissolve, a soft blur at the edges, a kind of mass amnesia. This isn't a call to panic. It's an invitation to stop believing on autopilot and start noticing. If your mind's been hazy, if you've felt off, unfocused, not quite yourself, you're not alone. I'm going to show you what's happening, how to tell if it's touching your life, and how to navigate your way back. Imagine waking up tomorrow and realizing that something essential has slipped away. Not your keys, not your phone, not even your health, something deeper, your own sense of who you are. At first it's subtle. You laugh at the right jokes, you post the right phrases, you answer with the expected words, but behind it all a strange emptiness grows. You speak, but you don't feel it. You act, but it's automatic. You look in the mirror and the reflection stares back, familiar, but somehow foreign. This is not a sudden crisis. It doesn't come crashing down in a single night. It's a slow fade, a blur at the edges of memory, a quiet erosion. Until one day you realize the person you once were has gone missing. And here lies the silent tragedy. You didn't lose yourself in one dramatic betrayal. You lost yourself in 1,000 small compromises. Every time you stayed quiet instead of speaking. Every time you played along instead of resisting. Every time you chose safety over truth. Piece by piece, the self receded. Hannah Arendt once warned that the greatest danger of our time is not monstrous evil, but thoughtlessness. Not thinking, not remembering, not daring to examine the roles we perform. When you stop thinking for yourself, you don't become free of responsibility. You simply hand yourself over to the scripts written by others. And so you forget, not because you chose to, but because forgetting has become the path of least resistance. It feels easier, it feels safer, it feels normal, until normal becomes numb, and numb becomes empty. Albert Camus described the absurd as the moment you realize the world makes no sense, but you go on living as if it does. This is the condition of the forgotten self, to live, to work, to smile, yet all the while carrying the silent knowledge that none of it feels truly yours. The absurd is not out there, it is inside. It is waking up in a life that does not belong to you and playing your role so well that no one notices the truth. You are already gone. You tell yourself you're fine, you have responsibilities, you have achievements, you have the approval of others. But late at night, when the noise fades, a whisper breaks through. Who am I when no one is watching? The forgotten self doesn't scream. It doesn't demand. It waits. It waits in the books you meant to read. It waits in the passions you buried. It waits in the moments when your mask slips and your true face flickers through. And each time you ignore it, you fall deeper into silence. Arendt saw it in the masses of her century, people who handed over their minds not because they were forced, but because it was easier to drift with the tide of conformity. And Camus saw it too, millions living lives that felt like slow suicide, not dramatic, not violent, just a quiet surrender to a world that tells you what to be. This is how the self is forgotten, not with chains, not with fire, but with comfort, with distraction, with the endless repetition of roles. And as the years pass, you begin to wonder whether you were ever real at all. But even here, at the bottom of forgetting, a flicker remains. Because if you can feel the absence, it means you still remember. If you can sense the emptiness, it means the self is not dead, only waiting. This is the descent, the realization that you are surrounded by voices, yet none of them are your own. that you are applauded for the mask, but invisible without it, that you have learned to perform life while quietly forgetting how to live it. And once you see this, you cannot return to sleep. You can only walk deeper, into the silence, into the shadow, into the terrifying knowledge that the only way forward is to remember what you worked so hard to forget. Imagine reaching the bottom of forgetting. The masks cracked, the silence absolute, the reflection in the mirror no longer recognizable, and then, in that darkness, a faint spark. A voice not yet gone, a memory not yet erased. The self waiting. This is the turning point, because once you have seen how far you have drifted, you are no longer powerless. Awareness is the first step back. Awareness is the seed of freedom. Arendt wrote that the act of thinking, truly thinking for yourself, is what protects us from becoming hollow, from surrendering our humanity to the machinery of the world. To begin remembering is to begin thinking again, not repeating, not echoing, but questioning. Questioning even your own certainties, questioning even the roles you thought defined you, because only through questioning does the forgotten self rise from the shadows. Camus believed that rebellion begins not with weapons, but with a single word: no. No to the absurdity of living without meaning. No to the quiet suicide of conformity. No to the erasure of the self. To say no is to refuse the script, to refuse the trance, to refuse the slow death of thoughtlessness. But in that refusal, you also make space for a deeper yes. Yes to freedom. Yes to authenticity. Yes to the fragile, flickering truth inside you. The path back is not grand. It does not begin with revolutions. It begins in silence, in noticing the trance, in feeling the weight of each moment instead of fleeing from it. Arendt believed that true freedom was not simply doing what you like, but creating a space where thought can breathe, where the self can appear again. That space begins inside you, when you dare to sit without distraction, when you dare to listen to the voice you buried. The journey of remembering is not gentle. You will feel the weight of everything you lost. You will mourn the years spent asleep. You will ache for the passions you abandoned. But this grief is sacred. It means the self is alive again. It means the fire is returning. Arendt reminded us that evil grows strongest when people stop thinking. But the reverse is also true. Freedom grows the moment you dare to think again, to pause before you echo, to question before you agree. So how do you live once the self returns? Not with perfection, not with certainty, but with presence. Every choice becomes an act of remembrance. Every word becomes a declaration. I was here. I am still here. Camus wrote, "In the midst of winter, I found within me an invincible summer. That invincible summer is the forgotten self rediscovered, the flame that persists even when the world grows cold." And as you walk this path, you may feel alone, but you are not, because across history, others have walked it too. They refused to vanish into conformity. They refused to let the world erase them. Their words survived not because they were louder, but because they were true. And now it is your turn. Notice the fog, drop the mask, breathe into the silence, recover what you buried, make the ordinary sacred, leave a trail of memory behind you. Change one route you walk every day. Novelty, gently dosed, is medicine. Turn left where you always turn right, and let your senses report from unfamiliar ground. Notice 3 textures, 2 smells, 1 color you'd never list if someone asked you what mattered. This is not tourism. This is rewilding your attention. Give your senses honest work. Cold water on your wrists in the morning. Sunlight on your face before a screen on your eyes. An orange peeled slowly with both hands, the oil on your fingertips, the insistence of citrus waking up the part of you that forgot it had a mouth. One song, eyes closed, beginning to end, without doing anything else. Call it training. Call it worship. Call it remembering how to be a creature. Move until your thoughts change pace, not punishment, permission. Walk like someone who intends to arrive in their body. Stretch the places that hold your day for you. Hips, back, jaw, like you would stretch a grateful animal. Dance badly in a room where you can't be graded. Let the small vibration loosen the dust from the shelves inside your chest. Make something that exists when you're done. A pot you stir, a page you write, a surface you clean until it reflects the window. Craft is slow language for aliveness. Matter under your care reminds your mind that it can leave a mark more durable than a notification. Tell the smallest true thing to someone who has earned your honesty, not the performance of vulnerability, the practice of it. One sentence that costs you a little to say and buys you a lot to keep. Truth brings oxygen. Oxygen brings flame. Flame brings you back from the freezer section of your own life. Look up at night, even if the sky is stingy with stars. Read one paragraph that humbles you into silence. Stand near a tree that outlived your grandparents and let it win the argument about what matters. Awe is a solvent for numbness. It makes the edges of the self porous enough for the world to get in again. Protect 1 hour a week like a sanctuary with your name on the deed. No audience, no metrics, no multitasking. Do something unmonetized and unserious. Whittle boredom into presence, because boredom is not the enemy. It is the antechamber to attention. Rest on purpose, not as collapse at the end, but as a craft in the middle. A 20-minute lie-down with eyes covered and no narrative. A bath that is not a productivity hack. Sleep you defend like a border. Memory sets in rest. Numbness loosens there. Expect pins and needles. When a limb wakes, it stings. When a life wakes, it startles. You may feel waves of feeling that seem disproportionate to the moment. They are not about the moment. They are the backlog. Let a few pass through without analysis. Your task is not to be impressive. Your task is to be present. Make a covenant with gentleness and a contract with courage. Gentleness says, I won't shame myself for how long I was gone. Courage says, I won't hide from how far I still have to come. Both are required. Gentleness without courage is a warm cage. Courage without gentleness is a sharp cliff. Together they are a path. Measure your return in textures, not trophies. Goosebumps during a song you didn't expect to love. Tears that arrive, land and leave instead of sloshing for days. A laugh that surprises your own mouth. Hunger that returns as appetite for food, for touch, for meaning. Not as a scroll-shaped itch. These are vital signs. Chart them the way you used to chart your steps and your streaks. And when you feel the first real swell of aliveness, do not panic. Do not smother it with analysis. Do not broadcast it before it roots. Carry it like a small animal cupped between your hands across a noisy street. Let it learn your heartbeat. Let your heartbeat learn it back. This is what coming back feels like. Not fireworks, but pilot light. The world will still be loud. People will still ask you to be easier to file, faster to answer, simpler to read. That is their weather. Yours is changing. You are not here to be numb and useful. You are here to be alive and true. Choose the minute that proves it, then choose another, then another, until the proof becomes the person, and the person becomes the life you can stand inside without needing to leave to feel it. So let me leave you with this. There will always be noise. There will always be crowds. There will always be pressure to forget. But behind it all, beneath the fog, beyond the silence, you are still there. The world does not need another mask. It does not need another echo. It needs you. And remembering who you are is not just survival. It is the beginning of revolution. So whatever you do, don't go back to sleep. And if something in you tightened while listening, if your back straightened a little, if your eyes warmed for a second, if the room felt sharper, that was not me flipping a switch. That was you remembering where it is. I'm only pointing at exits in a building you already know by heart. So here is the invitation and the charge. Guard one quiet minute before the day begins. Guard one kept memory before the day ends. Treat your thoughts as private land. Treat your attention as a steering wheel. Treat your memory as a trailhead, not a museum. Walk it daily until the path is yours again. And when the old gravity returns, because it will, let it pass through. You are building weight of your own now, weight that keeps you here when the world tries to carry you elsewhere. Stay awake, stay yours. I'll see you on the other side of the fog. The night does not erase. It remembers what the day makes us forget. Mass amnesia is not silence. It is a question. Will you drift with the forgetting crowd, or will you choose to remember? Here at Midnight Philosophers, the ending is never an end. It is a doorway, a call to stay awake, to see more deeply, to love more fiercely. Because when the world forgets, someone must remember.